Jerusalem. Why Jerusalem? And why is it here? Do you know why Jerusalem is here? Why is it so important? We went over it a couple of times, I think. Sorry?
Isaac and Abraham bound Isaac on that hill.
Abraham and I didn't hear what you said.
It's the place that God put his name.
God put his name, and that's where the bonding of Isaac took place. And we saw it as an element a couple of days ago at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and I'll show it maybe again today in different versions. Okay. The thing about God putting his name comes later, and it's important that it comes later. First of all, let's start thinking about a city. What are the 4 criteria in order to put up a city? What do you need? We went over
walls,
water first,
food,
Protection.
protection, and
transport and protection.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at Jerusalem now. Water in Jerusalem. There is one little spring that is enough for around 10,000 people a year. Jerusalem, Second Temple time, you've seen the model. We're talking about 150,000 people at least. There's no water in Jerusalem whatsoever. All the water in Jerusalem comes from water cisterns. I showed you one. You know what I'm talking about now, yes? Water cisterns underneath where rain would drain down into pre-dug holes. Food. We said an agricultural background. Jerusalem, maybe 2 inches of soil sitting on rock.
Yeah.
You can't grow wheat up here. The only things that you can grow are probably olive trees and vineyards, very important liquids. You can't really eat it. So, third thing, transport. 2 major roads. One of them we went by called the Via Maris, goes from Alexandria along the coastal road of Israel, goes up to Caesarea and then cuts through Megiddo to Damascus. The other one called the King's Road going on the Jordanian mountains. None of them come through here. There's a small road connecting between those 2 massive roads. They do come through, one of them comes through Jerusalem, because Jerusalem up in the mountains, but the lowest place in the mountains. Jerusalem 1,800 feet high, Hebron 3,000 feet, Shechem 2,800 feet high. So the lowest place in the mountains, in the central mountains of Israel, is Jerusalem. The easiest to go from one road down to Jaffa. Okay? When you come to sum up all of that, where is the best place to put your city? Down in the valleys or up in the mountains?
Down in the valleys.
Down in the valleys. Okay? Where you have, we went over this, yes? Where you have the roads, where you've got the fertile soil, and where you've got the water. Back in the day, when we were the weaker nation coming into Canaan, we were weaker than the rest of the Canaanites. We had to run up into the mountains to find shelter. The Philistines and Canaanites lived in the valleys. Today, we are the stronger nation. The Palestinians are weaker. They sit in the high places running for shelter. They sit in Hebron, Jerusalem, Shechem, Tzfat, all of these places. That is a clash that we have here. It's a historical clash. Okay? The last thing we said was defense. So I said Jerusalem has no water, has no food, has no trade route. At least you would expect defense, yes? We didn't have a strong army that could protect the city down in the valleys. We need the mountains. But look at Jerusalem. Maybe later we can look a little bit. It goes down in a slope. Therefore, the northern part of Jerusalem is higher than the rest of the Jerusalem. I told you yesterday when we went, Mount Scopus is higher. It scopes down on Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So not even defense is good here. And just like the prophet said, all bad things will come from the north. Okay, we've got it, we say it all the time in Hebrew. Mitzapon tifatach hara'a. All bad things will come from the north, and we don't mean Lebanon or Syria or the great invasion of the Eskimos from Lapland. All we mean is Jerusalem, because everybody wanting to conquer Jerusalem eventually did it from the north. Whether it was the Crusaders or the Muslims or the Romans or the Greeks, everybody did it from the north. So I come to sum it all up. Jerusalem. No water, no food, no trade route, no defense. In other words, the worst place you can ever think of putting your city. So why on earth is it here? God never said this. Never said this. It's all one man, and he is the king of Jerusalem.
Melchizedek.
King David comes around here. He's got his political needs. I talked to you about it in Megiddo. He wants to shift the capital of Israel into the jurisdiction of his tribe, Judea. He wants it, I reckon that he wants it a little bit away from the main trade route, because he's got all of these treasures. He's got the covenant, he's got the menorah, he's got all of this. You put it on a main road, other stronger nations would come and steal it. He wants it a little bit hidden. And he says, he comes over here, he looks at that and he says, that's Mount Moriah. He knew about Mount Moriah, but Mount Moriah happened 1200 years before him. He declares that's Mount Moriah, and that is where the temple to God should be. On that little rock, little knob coming out of the ground in a shape of an altar. That is where we believe that Isaac was bonded down to the stone, yes? That is the rock that is underneath the dome of the rock. That is the foundation of the globe of the earth, or the foundation of belief in your heart. The first covenant between man and the God. So he declares that it's there, and ידידי, ידידי, אולי אפשר טיפה.
We had to run some folks off.
So, when David did that, in my opinion, for political need, he says that is Mount Moriah, and God blesses his decision, and then God gives the name, okay, his name. And what does it mean to give his name into it? Just like Abram, after the covenant turned to Abraham, one of the letters of Yahweh is given, either a yod or a hey or a vav, usually a yod or a hey, which in English is Jah, okay? So Abraham gets the H, Abraham. Yerushalayim, the whole city, like it was called in the Jebusite time, gets to be Yerushalayim as we pronounce it today. Not Jerusalem, but Yerushalayim. When we end a word in Hebrew grammar with aim, it's usually doubled. Two legs are raglaim, two eyes enaim, two hands yadaim. Everything that is two is aim at the end. So we're talking about two Jerusalems. Not only adding the name, but adding another Jerusalem. Today, if you'd ask people to split Jerusalem, they'd say, no problem. Let's draw a line in the middle. All is what is on the west would be Western Jerusalem, more Jewish affiliated, and all what is on the right would be East Jerusalem, more Christian or Arab. But at the time, obviously, we don't have this separation. I'll show you today another way of splitting Jerusalem, but I want to focus on the last way, and for that, on our way back to the bus, I'll show you another Jerusalem here, okay?